let's jump into the next section where we wanted to talk about setting up custom ISRCs and UPCs. And this, we went over this a little bit in our last one, so I'm just going to touch on it today. We actually have a YouTube channel, and a lot of these webinars are cut kind of down into little sections and paste there, which I'm going to show you that here in just a couple minutes, and I'm going to share the link as well. It's in each of our webinar emails. You'll scroll down to the bottom, and I think it's on the right. You'll see like a little icon of Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you click on that little YouTube icon, you will be taken to our YouTube channel, and I will show you that in just a second. But I wanted to jump into setting up custom ISRCs and UPCs per tenant and even per imprint, which is really exciting. So we're going to go, it doesn't matter where you're at in your tenant, but we're going to go into the manage area. And from here, in this managed list on the left, we're going to go into the settings, okay? So previously, you would have seen just the logo and the core details here, but now we've added this section that is UPC and ISRC generation. So if you didn't know, you can add your logo here, an SVG file, and you can have your logo exported on certain documents like the label copy and others. But to get our focus back on, we've got UPC and ISRC generation here. Now, quick note for you platform users, if UPC generation and ISRC generation are not allowed within platform for each individual tenant, you won't be able to set this up. So that needs to be allowed for someone to be able to set this up. But if it is, we can go ahead and start putting in a block. Now, you have to have purchased a block. We don't purchase blocks for you. You can't register a block through us. But if you have gone through the correct channels and you have purchased a UPC block or an ISRC block, what you can do is you can bring those in to OpenPlay and you can actually set those up to generate automatically. So here's how we do it. We would say enable custom UPCs and we would set that to yes. Obviously. Now, next, what we're going to do is we're going to select our UPC length. So we have added the ability to do 12, which it will be the default, a 12-digit UPC, or 13 or 14 for you European users out there, or users that have European UPCs that you have to have registered for labels that you work with. So that being said, you can choose your UPC length. You're going to set your UPC prefix. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you a really quick example. Right here, I'm going to put it in this lowest current value box. So let's say this is our UPC, right? So our prefix is going to be right here. So that hopefully you know your prefix. To buy a block, you have to know your prefix. So that is going to be our prefix. We're going to break that out here. We're going to drop it in our prefix section. And our lowest current value is going to be 30. Okay, so that's where you would get that 030 and a check digit. So our lowest current value is going to be 30, and our highest current value is going to be, let's just say, 500. So now that I've set this up, I should have my UPC prefix, my lowest current value of the UPC range of the block that I bought, and oftentimes maybe it's 0, 1, or just 1. And we bought 500 UPCs, so we have 1 to 500. So what we should see when we hit save changes is we will see that right here. So we've got here is our next UPC, right? Here's our prefix, and then we have 0, 2. Awesome. So that is set, and I messed this one up, so I will change this. Let me do. Let's just start with 90. Wait for it. Maybe. There we go. So we have 1 to 90, right? So here's our next UPC 020, and here we go is our next UPC. Our last UPC in our range is 90, and there's our 7. So we can set up these to automatically generate. Now, what will happen is when I go into my release, let's just say this one, I edit. I will now, if this is set up again, generation has to be set up for the tenant. I have to be able to click generate, and you will see there's that next UPC that we set up, right? We started with 01, and here is 02. So that is as simple as it is. You just have to have your block, know what numbers that you need. And similarly, we're going to jump into, I'm not going to save this. We're going to jump to ISRC generation. So we're going to enable custom ISRCs. And here is our ISRC, right? So hopefully you all know how this breaks down. In this first section, we have our company code and our country code. Next, we have our year, whoops. The next 2 digits are our year code, right? So this is 2022. And then here is our ISRC range. So we're going to take that first section. We've got our prefix. We're going to leave our year code out. We will automatically generate your year code. So as the year turns over, it will turn to 23. So you don't have to worry about your year code from the perspective of OpenPlay. So next, we are going to add our lowest value, which is going to be 1. And then we're going to add our highest value, which is going to be 500. All right. And then we should see our next UPC is we're going to have our prefix here, our year code here, right? There's our year code, and here is our current range. So there's our 2, our next ISRC, and then last ISRC in the range as well. We've got our 500. So this is all set to go. And when we would do similar, as I showed a second ago, if we generate this, then you will be able to see that would be the next ISRC that is generated. So any questions on this? It's fairly straightforward, but I definitely understand how it can be confusing. I'm going to show one thing about it after this, but any questions on setting up UPCs or ISRCs? Cool. Okay, so I'm going to show one more feature related to this. We're going to go into labels. Now, if you have multiple labels in your environment, multiple imprints, what you can actually do is, let's say, OpenPlay music is our typical one that we're going to use for 90% of our releases, but we have another digital imprint where we have another label that we use this tenant for. I can go into that other one, let's say Blue Note Records, and I can add a separate prefix. So maybe it's OP5 US or something along those lines. What will happen is when I select this label for a release, and from that release, I generate a track and an ISRC, this the block will use this ISRC prefix instead of the standard one set up in settings. So if you have multiple imprints, you bought a full block, you can also have different prefixes that will actually show up here, which is awesome. So you don't have to have the just one specific label in your tenant that will be generating these ISRCs. I'm sorry, excuse me, not UPCs, but ISRCs. You can use that across that same block across multiple labels. So really, really useful there.